So I haven't been using a lot of MCPs for a while now. I know that the term MCP already gets people hyped up with, hey, let's everybody use MCPs, have access to third-party apps in the easiest and seamlessly way possible. But I don't think that's the case for most things that we do. So for example, I am trying to use this from Firecrawl right here, which is a new feature they have of scraping out the branding from any website. So down here, as you can see, I scraped out Vibe Kanban. This website has a really, really cool design. This is it, right? And I just wanted to grab that design for myself just to try out this Firecrawl feature. And this is what you get. So you get the colors, the font that's used, the typography, spacing, personality. This personality right here is pretty cool because if your AI agent, if your LLM has access to this, it could try to aim to build something closer to what is the actual website. So with this, and by the way, I'm building kind of a MVP starter kit that if I run it right here, so npm run dev, no, it's not npm, it's bun. I can finally build something with bun since it's not using Prisma and I won't have problem getting this to production. So as you can see, this is pretty generic. I haven't even changed the first page. This is just the default Next.js homepage, but yeah, I'd like it to have just a better personality. And then I started thinking, okay, how would I call this? How would I have my LLM access Firecrawl's branding to get this, and then based off of this, just build everything else? My first natural thought was going for an MCP. They describe this right here. You could just drag this inside of a mcp.json or something and just have your agent use that specific MCP. Now, the problem with this is that our LLM will have the entire context on how to build absolutely everything. Scraping, crawling, I think it's, extract, map, all of these huge features that Firecrawl has, which is pretty interesting. But for now, I don't want all that. So I don't want to waste all my context window on that. And I mean, for what I'm building, it should do just fine, especially because I have the 5x plan from Claude, which is this plan right here. But I know that most people are in the Pro plan. And if you keep using a lot of MCPs for absolutely everything, you will run out of context window really, really fast. In this video right here, I explain how the agent's skills work, and that's exactly what we're going to be using. And as you can see, I used Claude's skill creator skill to build this skill for extracting the design of a specific website using Firecrawl. So it does use this curl right here. I just sent that out to it. Actually, a pretty nice way that I figure to give an LLM the full context is just executing that curl myself. So that's what I did right here. Feel free to do it exactly like I did here. So I just sent out the curl inside of the terminal. The response is down here and all. So as soon as you just get all of this and send it out for the skill creator skill, it'll have the full context and know what to expect. Okay, so at this point, it generated everything. I can download my skill. Let me click to download that skill. Let me grab that. Actually, for some reason, it created a .skill. I don't think that exists. Are you sure about using .skill? Shouldn't it be a skill.md? Yeah, so this should have been a zip file. Let me correct that by just replacing skill with zip. Let's click on use zip. Let's double click this. And now the folder should open up with all the scripts and everything. Now in my project, I'll create a Claude folder. Inside of the Claude folder, I'll create a skills. Now inside of that skills folder, let me drag this in. Okay, so website design copier. Here are the references. Here's the script. Now let's take a look at the skill.md that was generated. So after the LLM identifies that the user wants to copy a design from a given website, it then triggers this skill, which has this huge documentation. And I don't really think it's that necessary for it to understand all this. This might be a bit redundant, so I'll just take a look at it and see what I can remove. To have this waste the minimal amount of context window, ideally, it should just use the fetch _design.py. This would trigger the curl, and we'd get back the response inside of the context window. It wouldn't even need to understand how to make that curl fetch. Now, the problem with what we have currently is that the manual API call is described here, and then also inside of the references, Firecrawl underline API also describes that, so it's just really, really redundant. And we want to ensure that just by running this script, it works just fine, and without having access to our API key. So the only thing I really did here is make it identify my Firecrawl API key from the .env.local. That's all we really need. This here needs to be updated as well, or else it would always require the LLM to look inside of our .env.local to find the environment variable and only call this file once it has the environment variable. But as I said earlier, this is already fetched inside of that file. So the workflow should be as simple as the LLM understanding that it has a tool to fetch for a website's design, send in that website's URL, and have that scraped with Firecrawl just seamlessly. To fix all that, I've made this prompt right here. Feel free to pause to read it through it, and let me just drag that skill in here and hit enter. And actually, while that's running, I remembered a more visual way to show you guys why to not always use MCPs. So all I did here was use the MCP NAN node that basically allows us to list all the tools from a given MCP. And this is exactly what Claude Code, really, I think mostly all AI coding agent does, is to list all the tools, because it needs to have context to which tools it has access to then, based off of that, provide you with whatever usage for that given tool. So this is what's going on. And I mean, Firecrawl's MCP is pretty efficient, but still, if I just want to scrape the design of a given website, I don't want all this. I don't want all of this inserted into the context window, all of this JSON that I won't really use for now. But obviously there are some situations where you benefit from having all these tools. So like inside of the Firecrawl ecosystem, you might want to search for something first, and then based on the results from the search, you might want to scrape and all of that. So it is using multiple tools, and then you actually benefit from having everything already configured there. But honestly, I'd even argue that you could just place all of those tools in here and just be a way to execute all of those tools from the skill.md. I mean, it really comes down to testing it and seeing how efficient it is. There's also the main downside, which is currently skills are only available for Claude Code. But honestly, you can always tell Codex, for example, hey, look at my skill.md, and based off of that, execute whatever needs to be executed for my tools to work. By the way, if you've used third-party tools in skills instead of using it through MCPs and you find it to be better or worse, please let us know down in the comment section. So yeah, it should be done now. And I'd honestly trim out some of these, but we should be fine. Let's now clear out Claude Code. Let me look at the Python script. Seems nice as well. And let's just have it get the design from Vibe Kanban. Please fetch Vibe Kanban's design, and then place the website in parentheses. I think this should be good. Let me close skill.md so that it's not like looking inside of that file while I'm instructing it, and see if Claude is actually identifying that it should be using a skill to do this. Okay, that was pretty bad. It just tried to access the website. Use your skill to do this. Now let's see if it identifies the skill that it has. Yeah, I messed up, and it's actually .claude for the Claude folder. Let me rename this and just place a dot here. Now Claude should find its skill. Let me clear this out. Okay, now let me be a bit more specific with my prompt. So please use the website design copier skill to fetch for Vibe Kanban's design. And then I sent the URL. Let's hit enter and see if it could actually use that skill. It seems like it can. The website design copier skill is running. The bash commands seem to have failed. So probably we'll need one more iteration to fix this. Oh, and apparently the problem is because it's a Python script and we didn't install all the modules. I don't really like that that's an issue. So instead of using Python, let's just go with TypeScript. Let me stop it right there, clear it out, and ask it to transform everything into TypeScript instead. Okay, so it's done. I asked it to create a JavaScript file instead of a TypeScript, or else we would need packages the same way. Let me delete the Python script and clear this out. Actually, let me head over to the terminal and let's test this ourselves before actually having the AI execute it. So node and then trigger the JavaScript file, which should be using our Firecrawl key over at the .env.local just fine. Nice. So this got exactly that same information we got over at the Firecrawl panel. So if we ask Claude Code to fetch the design of any given website, it should understand its skills and should probably be able to use this response to then kind of copy the design for that website. So my prompt is as simple as, please use your website design, copy your skill to fetch for this website's design. Then please make sure my project uses the same exact design, font, form, everything. Let me hit enter. Let's see if it identifies the skill that it has and uses that skill. Okay, it identified the skill, used it. And if this doesn't happen to you, if it's not identifying the skill, maybe you just need to run your Claude again, like close that instance and run a new instance so that it runs with that skill as context inside of the context window. It used its bash to run the script. Now it's basically iterating and trying to see if there's any output. As soon as there's an output, it'll know which is the Kanban's design and should then start working. Like right here, website design information. Now it has that context and it will start working on the components to ensure our website looks like vibekanban.com. So for now, our website looks like this. Let's wait for a while and see what Claude comes up with. Okay, it seems like it's done. It changed the button components, the inputs, and also spacing, borders, color schema, typography. Typography is probably what's going to give the most difference here to our app since it really doesn't have a lot of things. But if you go over to settings, you'll notice that things are a bit more squarish and just feels more developer oriented, which is kind of the vibe that Vibe Kanban gives us. So this is kind of an awful example, but that's just because my next video is going to be about how you can kind of copy any website. And I'll be using the Kimi K2 model to build an actual website that uses way more components than this MVP starter kit here. But yeah, as for this video, this is how I'm connecting my AI coding assistants to third-party apps without using MCPs. I really much prefer to use skills. And if I'm not using Claude Code, I'll just instruct the model to look inside of the skills and have that specific markdown just explain how it should run a given file that is either a Python script, a JavaScript. After it runs it, it won't have to insert all this inside of the context window. It just executes this file and gets that output, which is mostly what it needs. So yeah, leave a like if this video helped you at all. Leave a comment if you have any questions or any suggestions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Till then.